Hey y'all, it's GravityRabbit. Thanks for dropping in. Let's see. Today I'm gonna just ramble a little bit about resetting for the week. There's some things that I need to do every day. There's things I do weekly, monthly, annually, those kind of things. I am not super organized. It's taken a lot of work to even get to the point where I am. But I thought I'd just share a little bit about it as I'm contemplating finishing resetting for the week, because to be honest, I don't want to. So I thought, oh, let me make a recording, which is so much more important. It feels like, if you have kiddos or if you've ever babysat and it's bedtime and the kiddos don't want to go to bed, they'll just say, but wait, I have something important. And it's never really important. But wait, I need to, because they're just fighting sleep. So that's just kind of me. I reset. I got my laundry done. Yay, me. I had just gotten back from a trip, and something I had to do because was just at least get the things out of my luggage, empty my luggage. Because if I didn't, it would have sat there for weeks. And I don't mean that in any other way except what it is, because I have evidence from trips in the past when I used to travel more. I would come home, and if I didn't empty it right away, it would just take forever to empty it. I don't know why. There's not really an excuse. But it also just wasn't as simple as just do it. It used to frustrate me a lot when somebody would say, just do it. Like it was so simple. And it was simple for them, but it wasn't for me. I think what finally worked, there was never really a switch that flipped for me. I think some of it came from anxiety and stress and trying to find methods to reduce that and avoid that. Like, yes, there's the relax, meditation, and breathing and visualizing. Those are all great. But there's also just the practical, because those things didn't clear my sink of dirty dishes. Those didn't wash my clothes. Those didn't, pick up and tidy the things that were cluttered about, right? So I think what finally worked for me was practicing being kind to myself and doing things because I deserve to have a clean and stress-free space. I thought of it as a right, a privilege, a gift, spoiling myself in a way. I think there's this funny thing that some people do that I can relate to, which is like if you think of a budget, how restrictive that is, and how, daily you really need to track spending. I've never been good at keeping a checkbook or keeping an account. I just look on my phone these days, like a lot of people, right? Even though I'm Gen X and we grew up with checks and checkbooks, and I can't remember the last time I actually filled out a physical paper check, but I would do it for a while, but it wouldn't stick. Or I would make a budget or a spreadsheet and it just wouldn't stick. Um, and I think too with budgeting, I would loosely know what my responsibilities, my bills were. But again, I didn't really track it to the penny or like even to the dollar. And I think part of it was it felt like budgeting was restrictive. And it wasn't until I really started seeing that it's actually freedom, because let's say you budget and you maybe have 50 cents left or $1 left until your next paycheck. And it takes a few paychecks before you even have $5 or $10 free. But then let's say you want to buy something just for yourself, something that's $5 or $10, maybe $20, just for quote unquote for fun. Well, you can do that stress free, not worried about overdraft charges because you've budgeted it. You won't have buyer's remorse. You won't have the stress of having to go an extra 8 days with just barely enough in the bank. And I know that things are hard, right? So that's just real life for everybody. They don't make enough to cover their expenses. I get it. And this isn't about that. There are some really great people out there who are giving good advice about budgeting and where to make cuts so that you don't feel like you're sacrificing too much, but you are avoiding some bigger issues. So I feel the same way about resetting. That for the longest time, it felt like work. Like, why do I have to clean right now? Why do I have to? And usually that was based in just not having had kept up on tidying. So it really was a lot of work to clean, or, how many loads of laundry, loads of dishes, things like that. And then so I would do a big clean, but then it wouldn't be long before things kind of got back to a messy state. And this was like, there were times where I was making decent enough money to support myself, and times where things were a lot tougher. But I started to realize, man, this is something I deserve. I deserve to have, even if it's a small space, a tidy space, something that's clean, something when I come in, it doesn't drain me. It actually is a place where I can rest. Now, there's various ways to do that, right? Like if you're not good at keeping up with dishes, use paper products. Not great for the environment, I know, depending on what you're using. But if that's what helps keep your home tidy for a bit, then that's fine. The other thing is you could just be a little more extreme and say, okay, I live on my own, or I'm just looking after myself. I need one plate, one bowl, one set of silverware, one cup, and then there's, whatever you're going to cook with, but then there's never really much to have to wash. There's not dishes to pile up. Same thing with clothes. Like, you could have a bunch of clothes, and then of course you have 7 loads of laundry to do, 5 loads of laundry, or you can reduce the amount of clothes you have, and then just once every 2 weeks, just wear them through and then go do them. Now, I know I'm speaking as somebody who, I don't have kids or a partner, so it's just me on my own. I understand that it's a little bit more doable that way. But it's something with kiddos that you could maybe share with them, that, you know what, we deserve to have a nice home, guys. And the way that we're going to have a nice home is to work together. And let's do this and this and this. So try to make it fun, even if you don't feel like it's fun, especially with kids. And actually, not even just with kids, the way that minds work, you can trick yourself. You could go, hey, it's Sunday fun day. I remember a few times with my nieces when we really needed to tidy and they were not into that, especially during summer vacation. I would do this thing where I would just set a timer for 10 minutes or 5 minutes and just say, how much can we do in 5 minutes? And I would give them each a task. Okay, you pick up all the garbage. You take all the clothes to there. You focus on this kitchen island, whatever it is. And it would work. Or we would, make a crown for like who does it the best, kind of those participation trophies, right? The other thing is you could put on music and go, okay, until this song is over, we'll do this. Or let's clean for 10 minutes. And then, niece number one, you pick a song. And then we're going to play that song and just do a little dance to it. And then clean for another 10 minutes. And then niece number two, you pick a song. And we're going to do that. And you could do that with yourself. You could just say, I'm going to put a timer on for 5 minutes and just see what I could do. And then even if you're by yourself or where somewhere you can be by yourself, do a crazy, silly dance. Does it feel dumb sometimes? Yeah. Would it be embarrassing if somebody caught you? Yeah, totally. But you know what else is that you'll have something cleaner. You'll have a space for yourself. You did something nice for future you. And that is something that I think about. Sometimes I'm sitting or standing in front of my dishes and I'm like, I do not want to touch these dishes. I actually prefer not to use a dishwasher when possible, because once the dishwasher's full, then the sink would get backed up. But sometimes the dishwasher is just the way to go, and I use it more often than I used to. But I'll be standing there in front of the dishes and I'm like, it sounds really good right now. Sitting down in my chair and recording something for sleepy peace. Or just sitting here catching up on a YouTube video that I wanted to watch or a TV show. But then I'll just tell myself, but you know what, future you will really be thankful that you did this. And, it took a minute, but now I honestly kind of like that idea that, you know what, you're right, future me will be glad. Now, there are times where I still don't do it, but then future me is just learning to be kinder to past me. Like, that's okay. You were tired. You worked really hard this week, or it was just one of those days that were harder than others. And it's okay because I could do them right now. And again, kind of talking to yourself like that, especially out loud, it may not feel right. It might feel awkward. It might feel silly. It might feel like it's not doing something. And that's okay. But in time, it really does. And we know that words have power because a lot of you listening right now could easily think back to something someone said years ago, and those words still hold weight. So words can hold weight and words can hold power. And that means that even if no one is there to tell you that you are amazing just the way you are, whether you have dishes in the sink, clothes on the floor, anything, you matter, you're important, you're doing great. Even if you don't have someone to tell you that, you could tell yourself. You could pick up that one cup, that one straw, that one, maybe just clean the hair out of your brush. You could do that one thing. It's like you did it. Celebrate it. Good job, you. Good job, me. Yeah, again, I think I'm not 100% there where I would, like if somebody were outside my door, I don't know that I'd be loudly talking to myself like, hey, you're doing a great job. But I do talk to myself more, even though I'm kind of talking to you guys right now through this podcast. Which, by the way, I decided after talking with a friend of mine that, I was stumbling in the other videos, or I'm doing it right now, stumbling with the other recordings about is this a video? Is it a recording? Because I think in my head, when I thought of this channel 8 years ago, I thought of it as a YouTube channel. And YouTube is where I was looking for content to help me when I was having those really hard times early in the morning or in the middle of the night. I thought of it on YouTube. I didn't think of it on Spotify or SoundCloud or any audio only streaming platforms. I just was searching YouTube and thinking one day maybe I can make a channel on YouTube. So that's why I think I'm stuck with stumbling over calling them videos, because this is a video, even though it's a static image and it's audio only, it's a video. But it is more accurate to call it a podcast and actually that talking to my friend gave me the idea that maybe I can try to upload the same content onto, SoundCloud or Spotify. And that might be better. I don't know. I'm just going to put it out there and see what catches, if anything catches. But so yeah, I'm going to try to train myself to call it a podcast, a recording content, and not so much a video, but I'll probably still do that. I mean, it's been several years that I've been thinking about it as a video, but it won't take me long. But yeah, so whatever it is you need to do to get ready for the week, whether it's open your backpack and kind of take out all the old papers, organize it, put on a fun song or a nice song, a relaxing song, and just start taking things out one by one and shaking out any dust and then putting it back thoughtfully. Maybe it's something where if you have to carry a pen, find a fun one. I actually really love stationery. I have more pens than I'm going to use, and I'm not talking about hundreds or anything. I just have like maybe 40 pens and pencils, but it also motivates me to write more. And then even the little pencil cases, I have a cute one, and then I have one that's functional that will sit up, which is nice. There's a coffee shop that I like to go to. I've been a couple of times. I want to go a little bit more regularly, but having something like that can help motivate. Even putting things into pouches or different zippered cases within the bag. Finding a bag that you like. I think I usually carry a crossbody purse and then a tote. I am kind of obsessed with different totes. I want to eventually make or sew my own. But yeah, if that's what helped you, I think if you have school, one tip I can give you that I feel like pays dividends is something my mom used to make us do when I was in elementary school. Spoiler alert, I didn't keep it up through high school or college. That's probably when I was at my lowest in terms of depression, but I wish I had. It would have made a difference. Even though you don't use books as much these days, my mom would always have us spend at least half an hour at night that I can remember and preview for just 5 minutes what we were going to review the next day in class, so that when I got to class, it wasn't the first time I had heard the information. I could also use the time with the teacher more wisely, because I could ask questions about things that weren't clear to me versus just getting the information for the first time. So if anything is going to help in terms of resetting for a daily thing, is whatever you need to do the next day in school, just preview it. Just think through in your mind about, first we're going to do this class, I'm going to talk about this, or the teacher's going to talk about this, we're going to do this. Just not because you can predict what's going to happen or change, like if anything crazy happens at school, but because at least you can be more adaptable and prepared for it. With work, sometimes I try to remember at the end of the day to look and see what I have the next day, but I also just sometimes need to turn my brain off. So what I'll do instead is when I get to work, first thing I do is look at my daily calendar, and for any meetings I have, I set a alarm on my phone. Even if there's a day with one meeting, I set an alarm because I know myself. I know that I can get tunnel vision. I know that I can get sidetracked. I know that I can get fixated on something. And so that evidence of who I am, not who I think I am or who I think I want to be, but going by clear evidence of what I do, I really need the phone alarm. Now, can I run out of battery and all of that? Sure. But I know likely with my phone I won't. And then I just kind of tidy my desk so that it's not like I'm sitting down to chaos. Because even if you develop a sort of blindness to what's around you in your environment, all the things you have lying around, your brain, I think, still notices on some level when you have that stuff. And so I am not blessed with infinite brain um, capacity or the ability to do a ton of mental labor and learn new things while I'm at work. And so I outsource what I can, which again, some of that means um, just using my alarm to remind myself of things like meetings or even blocking out focus time so that on purpose, so that nothing can get scheduled and I know what's flexible and what's fixed. So resetting my area really helps me kind of start the week at least on my pace, on the foot that I want to get started on. And then, yes, if things go sideways or something's not working out, then I can always look to myself for, well, what can I do differently? I think there are situations where it's so easy to go, well, it's because they did this, dot, 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 or didn't do this, dot, dot, dot. And that could very well be true. It doesn't take away the fact that there's probably something I could also do differently. I don't mean handhold. I don't mean do someone else's job for them or take care of the tasks they're supposed to. But there's something I can do. And so that's how I came up with just actually setting because I missed a couple meetings within this 1 week. I missed two because I was working and didn't notice the start time. So that's when I decided 2 times in a week is too much. I'm going to change my routine. And sometimes prep means even with something I'm going to prepare for dinner or lunch the next day, I have to take a few steps back and think about, okay, but what food do I have? Is there anything I am going to need to buy? Before I prep food, I want to make sure my kitchen is clean and the counters are wiped down, and I have my favorite knife clean and ready to go. That I have the bags or containers to put the items in once I'm done, and even just learning to pace myself. Like if I'm making a dish and I know I'm tight on time, then let's say tomorrow I'm going to make spaghetti. So what I'll go ahead and do is chop up some vegetables tonight. I could also brown the meat tonight and then put it together tomorrow, or just fully do the sauce, put the sauce on. Or if you, before you go to work, you can program something on your crock pot, put everything in there. Because again, it's nice when you can rely on someone else to help. But just in case, I just kind of have a backup plan on something I can do to make sure things go as smoothly as possible. And then what's also nice when you reset and you're preparing is that it also makes it a little bit clearer about what's a fixed thing that you absolutely have to do and where you have flexibility. So that's what I mean about, it helps to be more adaptive and prepared for if something goes sideways, or just doesn't go to plan or something else comes along. But it also helps my stress and anxiety to put my hand to something and manage it. Um, I've been a little bit clumsy. It feels like I'm being a little bit more clumsy, or like my joints hurt a little bit more. And so in those cases, I try to see what modifications I can make. Um, Something practical I can think of is, like instead of a regular can opener, if you wanted to get an electric can opener, or giving yourself a little bit more time to do something. I guess cooking is a really good example because that's what I'm thinking of right now is another illustration of when I committed to make some cupcakes for a party. I baked the cupcakes themselves like 3 days before when I had time, and I put them in the freezer. And then the day of the party is when I took them out and made the icing, or was it the night before? I took them out, put them in the fridge, and then made the icing for them. And I was really happy that it worked out that way. One example of where prep did not work, or I didn't look far enough ahead, was when I was traveling and I had a carry-on. It was just a weekender bag, just a bag with straps, and it was actually very light and very comfortable and easy to carry around. So I didn't feel like I needed to have anything with wheels. But one thing I didn't consider was how I was going to pack for the trip back, because I bought a few souvenirs, or I just rearranged how I had packed my luggage, and it ended up overstuffing my carry on, which turned out to be a pain to just carry. Now, any normal, healthy person would have been fine carrying a bag. In fact, in the airport, I saw a lot of people with duffel bags and weekender bags and just bags in general with no wheels, and they're fine. So it was just a lesson for myself that what I need is a carry on with wheels. I think, too, one of the reasons I moved away from the carry ons with wheels was because when I was recovering from cancer treatment, my body was so weak. I remember traveling once and trying to put my bag in the overhead bin, and it slipped out of my hands and almost hit somebody right on top of the head. Thankfully, it did not, and someone helped me. But I think since then I've been a little bit timid, and so I've only brought soft bags that I can just shove under the seat in front of me. But one thing I forgot is that, somebody around me I could ask for help possibly, which is hard for me as an introvert, but easy for me as somebody who just has, I just humbly need help sometimes. So, yeah, so I'll have to think about that in terms of travel, about getting a small carry on that's lighter, and then seeing if somebody can assist me if I need it, if um, I'm not able to do it. But so the reset that I'm doing today, though, is really just for this week. It's nothing major. I like to do it on Sundays, but I'm also a believer of, if you want to start something, like, hey, I need to do that. Hey, I need to write things down. Just even making a list of things you need to do that week, in case there are major appointments you need to remember, or things you need to be prepared for. I know sometimes my nieces have a special dress out day at school. So rather than be stuck a day or two ahead of time having to scramble to find a theme, something that fits the theme, that's where you give yourself a week or two. Or if there was a presentation I was working on for my group that I have at work, and I was actually kind of proud. I gave myself a really big head start and kind of stumbled and messed up a tiny bit in the beginning anyway, but overall the preparation really paid off. Normally I'm a procrastinator. I wait till the last minute and then things turn out quote unquote fine. But the more that I actually invest in me, in using time to let me just make sure I have what I need for the week. Let me just make a list. Let me set some alarms. Let me set a bunch of alarms. Let me use post-it notes or physically write something down. Whatever tool you can use to do that. Or maybe it's just a simple tidy, like let me just pick up the things that are trash right now. Let me just pick up my dirty clothes and put them in a corner somewhere. Let me look at my fridge and clean out, any food that's gone bad. Or even just plan with the little I have what I'm going to have this week. And then just kind of loosely plan what you're going to do each day, when, if it's something doable, it might make more sense to use a delivery service like Instacart. It is more expensive to use a delivery service, but it also can be cheaper because you don't go into the store to impulse buy, and you can still sometimes see the sales that are going on at your local grocery store too. Or you could do a pre-pickup where you just shop directly on the grocery store's website and just have them set it aside and then plan a pickup. Whatever you need to do to be kind to yourself that doesn't cause any harm or any added stress, even if it's just a simple, let me set 2 alarms in the morning. I even have gotten to setting an alarm, like with my streaming services, I just rotate. So 1 month I'll have Netflix, 1 month I'll have Hulu, 1 month I'll have Viki, whatever, something like that. But I'll set an alarm like 4 days before, 5 days before to say, hey, I need to cancel or pause my membership so that I don't, because otherwise I'm just going to forget until I see the charge. So, anyway, that's just some tips and tricks that I use to not only do the best that I can for myself for the coming week, it helps me to be a lot more adaptable to changes or to be able to pivot if I can't do something one day to see when I can do it. And then that reduces stress and overall anxiety. It just makes for a better week, and it's just doing better for future me. So knowing that by Wednesday, when I've gotten done what I need to do, that Wednesday me will be really glad that I took time on Sunday to do it. Maybe that's too thinky, but here's the thing. I think a lot anyway. My brain is never quiet. So I at least try to organize it in a way that makes sense to me. And thinking about myself in the future makes sense. That it motivates me to try and do something today that otherwise I just wouldn't. But yeah, so that's just me getting ready for the week. I hope you guys found some use out of what I said, even again, if nothing applied to you. It's something that could still be a distraction from whatever is going on with you right now. And just see you through to better days. Yeah, thanks as usual, you guys, for listening. Feel free to comment on any tips and tricks that you use to prep for your week, something that's important to you. I'm genuinely curious. Or if there's anything else that you have questions about, anything I said in case it didn't make sense, or an idea that you'd like me to ramble on and just kind of follow my thought process through, yeah, just feel free. Otherwise, y'all take care. and we'll talk again soon.